So maybe the little piece, the little niggling piece that feels to me like it's saying, please say this.
Yeah.
It is that point where I was saying that okay, let's put a pin in this. And when when emotions were starting to escalate and it was clear we weren't coming to an understanding. So in the past, I think I would have continued to try to push forward and try to say it in a different way or explain whatever it is that I'm trying, my perception is some other way so that perhaps he would see it my way. And all that usually really does, especially when you've reached the point where it's clear you're not seeing things, the same way, is continue to escalate, continue to get the emotions deeper, digging in, others. That's when, in my experience, other shit starts getting pulled in. Well, one time you said this and what, and so that's why when I start to feel everything starting to escalate, I'm getting better and better at either just saying, I just need to take a few deep breaths right now, or can we wrap up this conversation to a point where we can pause and put a pin in it and come back to it a little bit later. It's clearly important to both of us, but I'm not sure we're going to be able to come to understanding right now.
Yeah.
And then, so that's what I've been trying to do more and more often in those situations. And I know, like you said, that's really, really common where emotions start to escalate and you just push harder. And for a lot of us, it's coming from an anxious kind of attachment style. You want to fix it now. You want to make it better now. You want the answer now.
This is the opportunity. We're going to lose it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The pathway to a secure attachment style is, not constantly engaging in the anxious behaviors. And sometimes that requires a pause.
Yeah, that is so beautifully said.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I love that. Can I throw something in there too?
Yeah, I'm ready. I was just taking a deep breath. Yeah.
Cool. I realize I'm like, okay, go. No, I'm like, okay, let's slow things down a little. I'm very excited. Also something that just sounds interesting because I've been really into like, okay, how do I honor my own anger or my own emotion? And women typically have more expressive emotions than men. And that can be due to estrogen. It could due to be hormones, many other things. I think women feel more deeply than men on typical, not always, just the way we're biologically constructed. And there's the shame around that in society. And so that is something I find very challenging. It's like, I cry very easily. To cry in the middle, we're coming back. Okay, to cry in the middle of a conversation, I notice self-judgment. I notice so much stuff. And it's like a little bit of like, okay, this is what I'm feeling. I want to honor that. I need to either step away because otherwise my actions are going to go into an unhealthy style. Or also like, there's such a curiosity. I'm like, oh my God, I wonder if somebody can hold this container where it's like, I'm feeling anger. Let me feel it. Let me be witnessed in it and then move the energy and then continue on with the conversation. I wonder if that can happen as well, though it sounds very challenging. But I love the just giving yourself that honoring, giving yourself that pause and stepping away when I very much resonate with you where I feel like this is the opportunity and I'm going to miss it. So I like that. Yeah. It feels loving.
My nervous system has way too many times in my experience in my lifetime when I've said, this is becoming too much for me. Can we stop? Can we pause? Can we take a break? Whether as a child or as an adult, whatever. Anytime I feel like I've said, everything is becoming too much. Can we please stop and like take a break or something? I frequently have been told over, by the authority figure in the communication, no, we're going to keep doing this. There's no stopping. We're going to keep pushing through. And so that's another reason why I just really, any opportunity I have to notice when I feel like I'm pushing through something is to, just at least invite the question, is it possible to not push through this right now? Is it possible to go ahead and give myself the gift of slowing down and taking a break if that's what's needed or whatever? But at least I get to be the boss now. I get to be the one who's in charge of this engagement. And if it's becoming too much, I can say, I'm getting overwhelmed, I need a break, whatever it is that I need,
Yeah.
and it will be honored. I will not be forced anymore to continue
Mm.
when I don't have it in me.
I love that. And there's also like what I'm learning too is the stepping away, the actual physical
Mhm.
movement of stepping away when it's not
Yeah.
honored. And
Yeah.
sometimes I have to prep that if I'm going into a conversation because that's
Mhm. Yeah.
challenging. But I love that because I think there's a lot of the self-help things that say you have to push through
Mhm.
something. And that
Mhm.
was my issue in Solsara was I
Mhm.
actually had the flu and a bunch of other people got the flu where
Mhm.
if maybe I rested, it would have been better. My body was yelling for this type of stuff. So now I'm listening to my body more
Yeah.
than I am like I get very nervous around personal trainers or other people who want to push through. And I go,
Mhm.
oh, hell no. Okay.
Mhm.
I'm somebody who has injured myself by pushing through. Okay. No, whether it's emotionally or physically. And so I love that. And everybody's different. Some people
Yeah.
need to be pushed more and some people don't. So everybody to their own. So if
Yeah.
one person says one size fits all, no, absolutely not. I don't trust that.
Never.
So I
Nothing
love
is
that.
one size fits all.
Yeah. It sounds like strength honoring and it's like holding the hand of your inner child and being like, I got you.
Mhm.
No,
Yeah.
even what happens, I still got you. We can walk away from this. So there's other options out there. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Aww. Love
Yeah.
that. And then I also wanted to ask you, because I have a really burning curiosity of how you feel after saying all of that out loud just
Mhm.
recently. Like, yeah, because I imagine it's
Mhm.
been whirling and you've had conversations before, but I'm really
Yeah.
curious after that was summarized, like how you were
Yeah.
feeling.
Um, I thanks for asking. I think one of the parts that's important for me in this particular topic is that I've repeatedly had the experience in the past of people, someone else saying that my perception is inaccurate. The way
Mm,
I'm seeing something is not accurate. It's not the way that they're seeing it. So therefore it's wrong. Or, and so then they try to get me to see their perspective. And so what happens is then I start to doubt myself and like, what is it that
mm,
what's really true for me and what, I lose my own connection to my own reality. Um,
yeah.
and So what that creates is this over and over again, me having difficulty trusting myself, questioning myself,
Yeah.
and kind of I'll think everything's real clear and then someone will say, nope, that's not what's happening. And then I end up kind of over here completely. And then like, I lost track of what I was even trying to say.
Yeah.
So in this time, yes, emotions have gotten high a couple of times during the conversations. And what I've done is I've just said, this isn't all coming out the way I mean it to. And it's not all coming out right. But I'm trying to at least get to the essence of it and we can come back to it if we have to.
Yeah.
But I've been able to consistently hold my own awareness, my own narrative. And even
Yeah.
though my partner's narrative and my partner's perception is quite different from mine, I was able to, even this morning, I was able to say, okay, I understand that you see it this way and I see it this way. And I don't think we're going to come to understanding a mutual shared understanding on this topic in this moment.
Yeah.
I'm okay putting a pin in it and just noting we don't happen to be seeing this from the same direction right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me to be able to keep holding that line and be able to say, I understand you might see it differently than me. I see it differently than you. I wasn't saying either of us are wrong. I just was like, we'll have to come back to this. Uh,
Ooh.
and that feels, I feel just much more grounded and clear than I really ever have when my perception is so different from somebody else's, and I'm not capitulating. I'm not
Mm.
letting it go.
Yeah. Oh, oh. I love hearing that. Oh my God. That really just, oh, I love the way that you shared that too. Like,
Mhm.
I very much resonate with that. And I feel like that's coming up for a lot of people, is kind of this theme of, and I don't like using the term gaslighting because I don't think it's
Mhm.
intentional. I don't think, like, there's different
Yeah,
degrees and levels, and there's so
right.
many keywords, but it's this idea of invalidating your experience.
Yeah.
So I had an experience with a date where I was told, like, no, that doesn't hurt. And that is such a triggering thing. It's just like they were doing a massage on my feet. I'm like, okay, stop. And it's just like, what? It's fine. And I'm like, no, I have had trauma here. I've had people injure me. Like, I'm actually very uncomfortable with you touching my feet right now. It's a very simple thing. But then somebody's like, no, it's okay. It's okay. Like, that just shows me a lack of understanding trauma, which I realize is something very specific for me now, which is what I'm
Mhm.
looking for. But also the invalidating. There's so much
Mhm.
invalidation. And I find it very common with, like, a male and
Mhm.
female relationship, where
Mhm.
a lot of men have been dismissive of women's emotions. Doctors have been dismissive. We're still dismissive of women's experiences,
Mhm.
whether it's pain, like how many people deal with horrible cramping and stuff like that, and it's
Mhm.
just dismissed. When
Mhm.
there could be, like, underlying disorders that need to actually get checked out. So women have to do extra self-advocating. We're told a lot of shit when we're little that is wrong. Like, no, you don't feel that way. We're told how to feel. And so it's like, what I see is you undoing.
Yeah.
Both of us are undoing a lot of this programming that has been very
Mhm.
toxic and very
Mhm.
damaging to us, trusting ourselves. So
Mhm.
we're like healing that. We're giving that nourishment and healing, and putting the nutrients back in the soil so that we can go
Mhm.
ahead and trust ourselves again. And this is
Mhm.
practice. Like, I feel like what our healing really is experiential. That is how we change the neural pathways. That's how we change the synapses. That's how we get new neurons firing, is going into these difficult,
Mhm.
challenging experiences that also are like, what do they say, changing your subconscious involves intense emotion,
Mm.
and challenges or action that can actually really help change it. So that's where, like, hypnosis or other things can go into,
Mm.
having a container. And that was one thing I heard from Lacey Phillips, and I wrote all this stuff down, where, yeah, it's like, to be able to go into those spaces and then also be like, okay, cool. What I heard from you, sorry, there's a lot going on. What I heard from you also was a way to navigate that. And what I
Mm.
heard was that
Mhm.
when things feel like they're escalating, you put a pin in it and you come back to it later. And
Mhm.
there's such an art to that. Like, it made me
Yeah.
feel like, oh, how do you navigate this kind of stuff? Because it's like, we're both working on that. I think a lot of other people are, especially
Mhm.
in terms of relationships and being invalidated, having your
Mhm.
experience invalidated, your desires, your wants, your needs. And it's like, I've had several dates where I said, you know what, this is off the table. This is a no. And
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, you just give me a beautiful red flag of being like, you're not going to respect me. Okay.
Mhm.
And maybe it's an old way of, and there's a part of me that's like, well, maybe it was just the way they were brought up and maybe they'll be okay. And I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? Ah.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
very, very much resonated with what you're sharing. And I'm just like, oh, you go. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Because it's like, you're trying to honor yourself. And I think that's so important and so powerful for so many women right now, is to step into their own experience.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. And I mean, a lot of things we don't see, like, you and I both have done some samsara, so we don't see the blind spots a lot of times. So we question ourselves because we're like, okay, we want to
Mhm.
improve. We want to find out, what am I doing maybe that's self-sabotaging or not the healthiest.
Mhm.
But we also question ourselves a lot. So it's almost like building up that fortitude is what we're going through. Okay, rant over. I love it. Thank you. I just wanted to share that. I was like, oh, yes. Thank you. Oh.